Colt 316 Day.
I think St. Patrick's Day there.
From WWL, the News Talk Sports Powerhouse.
He said Stone Cold. Is that Steve Austin?
Doug Sunseri and Albert Nicaud.
I don't know.
Underwritten by Nico and Sunseri Law.
I'm assuming.
Join us on the Oakland Heart Jewelers Talk and Text line, 504-260-1870, or connect anytime, anywhere on the Odyssey app. Now, to our Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union studios in the heart of New Orleans, here are attorneys Albert Nicaud and Doug Sunseri.
Hey, good morning, Doug Sunseri. Tell Deborah Sunseri, all things legal. Just call 260-1870 or text us at the same number on Oakland Heart Talk and Text line, 260-1870. Michelle, thank you for responding to my elbow.
You're very welcome.
I say that.
Happy to be here.
I say that figuratively because you always wake up earlier than me.
Up much earlier.
But well, thank you for filling in for Albert.
You're welcome. It's been a while.
It's been a while, and Albert's he is preparing for his St. Patrick's Day parade.
Annual event.
Everyone is invited, but
You do
us.
this every year. You're gonna tell them where everything is, how to get in the house.
I think they probably know after 17 years.
I'm sure.
But I do give some warnings. On the street that he lives on, when the alcohol is delivered, it's usually 2 truckloads, and there's cones that block the street. And they put a barricade suggesting you drive another route to get to Metairie Road.
Because the trucks are blocking the road.
Yes, because the alcohol is being unloaded, which is usually about a 3 or 4 hour process at Albert's party. So
Well, that's good for St. Patrick's
he
Day.
does that. I mean, he does that for several reasons. For St. Patrick's Day,
And St. Joseph's. Huh?
subsistence throughout the year, so he's always got a supply. And also, he's afraid that prohibition may happen at some point. And which I tell him in New Orleans, I think that's
he's
probably
safe.
not a valid fear. And so he just in case it happens, he will have enough supply to last him for a lifetime.
Gotcha.
But he picks these he's sort of a Renaissance guy.
Isn't he a good cook?
He's a great cook, and I mean, so he's going to have a big spread.
That's nice.
And
Well, hopefully the weather will be good.
Weather's gonna be-
Weather's beautiful over here right now.
weather's going to be beautiful today. So it goes without saying that if you are a listener to All Things Legal or WWL, or you just listen to the radio in general, to any station,
You're welcome.
you're welcome to Albert's place. And the great parties are very hospitable.
Hospitable.
He's very hospitable. So you can just walk in, eat the food, use the bathroom, drink the drinks. And, don't even
Maybe,
tell him hello. Don't have
maybe
to tell
leave
him
a
hello.
cabbage or a couple of potatoes. if
That's
you
right.
want 'em.
So he is doing that. And one year I'm going to give the address.
You're gonna be in so much
Probably our
trouble.
last year.
Yeah, probably.
When they tell us this is our last year at WWL, I'll probably do that. So that's
You're going to be on vacation for a couple of weeks.
That's right. That's right. If they give me my notice, I'll say I'll unload.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't work in that office.
So he does, but he could. And one thing about if you do go there, his eyesight gets a little blurred by 4 or 5 o'clock. So if he doesn't recognize you, or sometimes he's just tired.
Yeah,
He may be slurring some words. It's okay. He's fine. No medical conditions. He's just a little tired because he worked hard, unloading, getting ready for the party. Let's see.
Is today actually St. Patrick's Day?
Tomorrow is.
I thought it was the 17th.
I think tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day, and St. Joseph's Day is the 20th. So this is sort of this is like
Is there a St. Joseph's Day parade? There
Yeah.
used to be when we were kids.
Tony Russo.
Yeah.
In your dad's firm was big in it. I think they still are. Back in the day I marched in it. Or stumbled in it.
It was a big deal, like for the girls to be like the maids
Right.
and all that.
Right. They had
It was almost like a
they had like 120 maids. You had to give out the green gum to chew during the ceremony. Yeah, that was they used to march through the French Quarter,
Yeah.
and give flowers to
Yeah, it was
whoever, um, and
Yeah, we
and
go
they
with
had
my
and they
dad.
had the great they had the great Italian music, which in New Orleans we had one of the probably great Italian entertainers was Louis Prima, if you remember. The old timers will remember. He was probably the number one act, one of the number one acts in Las Vegas, and he was, I think, Mowgli
Yeah,
in the
that's how I knew him from
Jungle
Book.
Book, and but he was just he was a fantastic entertainer. In fact, when the entertainers like Frank Sinatra and all the big guns, Dean Martin, would finish, they would go see him because his act was usually the late night act.
Where did he was he like in house somewhere?
Yeah, he had residency, and he was one of the first, I guess, resident Las Vegas.
Like acts.
Yeah, and he had Keely Smith, and then they had like a little act. She was a straight lady, a straight man, but straight person, and he was just a character. And they would go.
Keely Smith?
That was who he did the act with, his wife.
Oh, it was his wife.
Yes,
Oh.
and they had like a little act going where he would be like all over the place. I mean, he was just like hyper, and he was it was a really fun act, and she would be just sort of sitting there stoic.
Was she a singer?
She was a singer. Yeah, she's a very good singer. Very good singer. And so it was a great act. But he was a great Italian entertainer, and he lived in the same neighborhoods as Louis Armstrong. I'm not insane, but I was just saying that the Italian back then, the Italian.
Were they in Lakeview?
No, they were like near the French Quarter, and he and Louis Armstrong was in the what you call the red light district. They closed it in 1917. In New Orleans. It's escaping me, but it was Storyville. Storyville. He was in Storyville, and so they each influenced each other, just in sort of the music. So, and also if you're the St. Joseph's altar, so it'll be March 20th.
I never really. So, do they cook all that food and do they eat it?
Well, yeah. Well, basically, the St. Joseph altar started in homage to the patron saint of Sicily, which was St. Joseph, and they had terrible famines, and so what they did was they would venerate Saint Joseph, and he would give them relief, or that's what the tradition said. And so they wanted to pay homage to them. So there's basically what they do is put food. It consists of a lot of like Italian cookies, food, and on an altar, they also have a lot of breadcrumbs, which represents the salt. Joseph was a carpenter, and so that represents the sawdust from being a carpenter. Joseph would have cleaned up after Hurricane Ida here, or Hurricane Katrina. And then they also have.
Do they eat it?
Yeah, well, it's for the poor. So what they theoretically they have this big altar. They make these cookies. They make all these treats. No meat though. No meat because it's Lent. But they put all kinds of Italian delicacies, and then they have the altar. The people would come, will get a little bag full of some of the treats. They would get also a lucky bean, which was, I think, a fava bean, which they ate during the famine, and they call them lucky beans. And so they get a little treat, and the rest of the food is given to the needy and poor.
It's stuff that doesn't go bad.
No, it's like a lot of cookies, a lot of baked goods, a lot of breads, a lot of Italian breads.
Because I don't think I've ever been to one. I've been invited, but I never really knew. Because I'm Italian. I didn't grow up with
and our dear Aunt Marie, who just passed, she loved St. Joseph's altars. I think she would go to St. Anselm, and she was just, that was sort of a tradition with her.
Interesting.
Yes. So actually, just a personal thing. My dad's dad died in 1945. He died on St. Patrick's Day and was buried on St. Joseph's Day.
He hit them all.
That's right. He was young. He was 31. So that was right in 1945. But that's St. Joseph's Day, and also to me, St. Patrick's Day means to me the start of SEC play for LSU.
I knew it always goes back to sports. Always. Always.
That's always.
And listen, how many days until
100.
season?
Who's counting? Who's counting? I'm not counting for LSU's opener against Clemson in August 30. I'm really not counting, but it's 167 days.
Let's hope that new grandchild's not born then.
Yes, we do have. One thing about, let's see, for our grandchildren, I think two of them were born during football season. Mm-hmm. So we had one Labor Day for Florida State, but they were playing away, so that was okay. And then we had one that was Ole Miss weekend. That was late. That was early. Super early. So I think they were playing like a non-conference game, which was okay.
But you're okay. You gave her a pass on
but
that.
As we sit here today, our next one is due Ole Miss again. Ole Miss weekend. Yeah. But I don't think if Ole Miss weekend. So I think we're okay for Labor Day.
Okay, good.
To go to Clemson. But I've never been to Clemson.
I haven't either.
So it's 2 hours from Charlotte. So we'll make it. I'm sure Clemson's nothing like Las Vegas, like it was last year. Probably a little bit different. But LSU baseball is back, and would get you into the College World Series is great defense, timely hitting, and pitching. So this weekend, so far they played their 2-0 against Mississippi. Just stay tuned to WWL.
I thought they were playing
Missouri. Thank you. Missouri Tigers. And stay tuned to WWL. Pregame 12:30, first pitch at 1 p.m. And they don't have any discernible weakness. The only question is how are the new pitchers going to react to SEC competition?
Like the freshman pitcher we saw?
Yeah, we had like Casey Evans. He's a freshman. He's their closer.
Came from Catholic?
That is William Schmidt. And William Schmidt was turned down a multi-million-dollar deal from the major leagues to sign to go to the LSU, which is phenomenal. He pitched. They had 7 walks yesterday, and if LSU doesn't beat itself, it should probably go about 18-2 in the SEC. They're 2-0 right now, and make a run at to Omaha. I would say
when is Omaha? What weekend is it?
Oh, don't even get me started on that, because that's Nicholas's wedding.
Sorry.
I know. You think there's any shot that they can move the wedding?
No. No.
It's basically the second and third weekend of June, and his wedding's the third weekend of June.
Right.
Oh, we talked about that.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah. He's getting married on a Saturday,
correct,
which would be the finals of the College World Series, and Friday night is the rehearsal party. So if they played, they would play Friday night. Now, the good part is the wedding is a Saturday night. If they play on Saturday, it'll probably be during the day, thank goodness. So we have that. So I won't have to be watching.
That's interesting, too, because he's a baseball player.
I know. Nobody checked with us before they set the date. And then if they win, they start on Saturday. Strike that. The first game's on Saturday afternoon. Or Saturday evening. Oh, that might be we might be in the Jesuit church looking at my iPhone. And then Sunday they play in the afternoon for game 2, and if there's a game 3, they play Monday. They play Monday night. If you remember, we were there last time. So, ex-college baseball player gets married the weekend of the College World Series. Well, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
No use complaining to
nope.
thousands of people saying.
Nope.
So that's when the College World Series is.
A good thing he's not listening.
No, he's under 50. He's not listening. He's under 50 years old. I could probably say anything. None of his friend group would ever have any clue that we're talking about him on WWL. But they have no appreciable weakness on their team. They're not like a murderer's row 2 years ago hitting, but like yesterday, Michael Braswell, third baseman, had 2 suicide squeezes, which is not a Jay Johnson thing. He's usually sort of a gorilla ball. And so the question will be, how are they going to respond? The pitcher's going to respond to SEC hitting, because this is like these guys. There's the SEC, there's college baseball, and there's the SEC. Those are two different things. And so we don't know how that's going to happen. And the other key, as far as they do have hitters, I think they have 6, 7 hitters in their lineup that hit over 300. They've got Derek Curiel, the leadoff hitter, has an on base percentage of almost 600.
And didn't they say something like the best baseball player right now?
He is the best freshman for sure. But he every 10 bats, he's on base 6 times, which is incredible. And they got the Bear, Jones. Oh my goodness, he's a huge kid. He's a man. He's got a mortgage. He's got kids. He's got a 401k.
Might check his birth certificate.
Yeah, he's a grown man, and he is.
What age? How old is he?
He's 21
So
going
like
on like 35.
Maybe he's a junior.
He's a junior. He's a junior.
Or a senior?
He's a junior. He hit 14 home runs his first year, 28 home runs last year, and this is his third year. And they really don't have a weakness. Now, the only thing that could get them, which happened a little bit yesterday, is with wins, championships, timely hitting. They're going to hit, but it needs to be timely, meaning with men on base. That's timely hitting. So those are the 2 things, but man, they're good. I mean, they're probably have as much talent. And the shortstop is Elam, Milan. Thank you. Is probably the best shortstop since Bregman. I mean, he's going to be one of those. Oh yeah. He's like the second baseman at Houston, Altuve. He's 5'8", a little short, but man, he's really he's just magical. He's just one of those. He's going to make plays that just. He's already made a couple of this year. It's made SportsCenter, or one particularly. He's just one of those shortstops. I'd just say magical. So it's going to be a fun year, and I think Jay Johnson's other biggest issue is playing all his talent, because he's probably got 16 players who are good enough to start. Is how do you keep them all happy? Because they have guys on the bench. Ethan Fry, Jake Brown.
So they don't go in the transfer portal?
Well, yeah, just keep them engaged. Because if you bench them, if you bench and you disengage, it's hard to,
Once you have your lineup for a game, can you change that lineup?
Sure, they do. They
so you can put.
Mm-hmm. What they'll do is a lot of times they do a lefty-righty matchup, because the batting, like toward the end of the game, you do a couple of things. First of all, you'll do defensive replacements. So if you have somebody in the field like Tanner Reeves, he's got a third base. He's a good bat, but he's not as good a fielder as Braswell. If the LSU's ahead in the 6th, 7th inning, they would take Tanner Reeves out and bring Braswell in. Now, Braswell's got the start the first 2 games, but they can do that. Also,
so to keep him engaged, is it to have him be on the offense or the defense?
Both. To give him a role in the game.
But could they be happy if they were just on the offense and hitting, if they didn't get to?
Well, it's the problem with having too much talent is what they have is you want to keep everybody, give them a role specifically that they know they can perform, and keep them engaged in the game, because it's hard to be engaged if you're a superstar and you sit in the bench. It's just natural.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the biggest challenge. But they're going to be fun to watch. They're not going to go. They're going to have their bumps and some difficulties. Now, I will tell you this: Tennessee they could probably win one of the divisions in the major leagues. I mean, they're not good.
Did they win last?
They won last year. They're fantastic. So they're just unreal. So between LSU plays Tennessee at home, and I think it's end of April. End of April. No, it's after. It's between Easter and May. Oh. I mean, middle of May. We could go, because we're going to be gone for.
Yeah, we're going to be gone the second week.
Yeah, second week of May. So I think they're the last weekend of April. Now that's going to be a series. I'm telling you, that's going to be a series. But Tennessee's phenomenal, and there's really no off weeks. Missouri is probably the worst team in the SEC, which means, which is pretty good. I mean, they're not a horrible team, but the SEC, there's no off weekends, and if there's an off weekend this week will be the easiest weekend. The next 9 weekends just going to be a grind. It's going to be a war every weekend. So great baseball, and looking forward to it. This is a law show, huh?
Let's end a break.
I could go on for another 2 hours. I didn't even talk about the Saints salary cap situation. But let's go to a break, and we'll figure out what we're going to talk about during the break. Usually we talk about state law, family law when you're on, and so we'll sort of get some updates on that.
Okay,
and some.
sounds good.
All right, so let's go to a break. Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demmer, Sunseri, All Things Legal. We'll be right back after this brief time out.
Let's go inside Black and Gold.
If you boil down Brandon Staley's defensive philosophy to one thing, it is versatility. It is, I want to be able to defend every single type of offense that can walk in and face us. That's why I think his defenses get the criticism of they're overly complicated. I also think that's why when you ask, hey, are you going to run a 3-4 or 4-3 defense? It's just like, I don't know yet.
Follow Inside Black and Gold on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Did you underestimate your tax liability or receive tax notices from the IRS? Don't let your situation get out of control. Call Go Tax Resolution, your local tax professionals, to help you or your clients get back on track. 985-722-1040. That's 985-722-1040. Or reach out to us at gotaxresolution.com. That's GEAUX taxresolution.com.
Hi, this is Sam with Go Tax Resolution. Are you overwhelmed with tax notices and don't know where to turn? Well, Go Tax Resolution has former IRS agents that specialize in tax and will find the best solution for you. Give Go Tax Resolution a call today to schedule your consultation and make this the year to take back control. That's 985-722-1040 or visit us at gotaxresolution.com. That's GEAUX taxresolution.com.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, millions of men experience ED, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. At HIMSS, our own board-certified urologist, Dr. Peter Stahl, knows this better than anyone, and he knows that HIMSS can help.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Stahl, Senior Vice President of Men's Sexual Health at HIMSS. I've helped many guys with ED, and it has never been more convenient to treat than it is right now, thanks to HIMSS.
Through HIMSS.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. Find the ED treatment that fits your needs. Options at up to 95% less than the brand names when you get started at HIMSS.com/joy. To start your free online visit and find ED treatment at up to 95% less than brand name prices, go to HIMSS.com/joy. That's HIMSS.com/joy for your free online visit.
GimmeTheVin.com big cash giveaway. We're going to take all the cars that we buy and we're going to add $25,000 additional in the month of March. It might be a $1,000 car. It might be a $100,000 car, but you're going to get $25,000 more dollars if you're the winner. You can't afford not to shop us. Sell us your car. GimmeTheVin.com.
No purchase necessary. For official rules, go to GiveMeTheVin.com.
Sell us your car. GiveMeTheVin.com. So easy you can do it in your underwear.
Come out to V. White's Furniture this Saturday and Monday and grab the green. There is no limit. Keep all the cash you can catch. One time a year, grab the green.
It'll save a lot. V. White's Furniture.
Saturday morning, start your day off with Dan Gill and the Garden Show. Saturdays from 9 to 11 a.m. Brought to you by Banting's Nursery. Trusted since 1926 for all your lawn and garden pest control needs. Visit bantingsnursery.com and tune in Saturdays.
So as always, we're still ironing out some of the kinks. We might not have rejoin music here, or we'll have music. We might not have a rejoin bumper. Yeah, it wouldn't be the end of the world.
And discover the benefits. Secure up to 10 devices with a single account. Encrypt your online traffic. Reduce the risk of phishing, scams, and malware with NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro. Get the special birthday deal at nordvpn.com. Additional terms apply. NordVPN.
Does your current trophy wife want a life insurance policy 3 times the size of your previous mistakes? Relax and call Big Lou at Term Provider. Big Lou says if you're in your 50s, even a bit porky, a $1 million term life policy should only cost about $200 to $300 per month. Call Big Lou at 800-529-2856. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He likes trophies too. For affordable life insurance, call 800-529-2856.
Attention.
I stepped out a second ago. What are we talking? Are we talking law?
This is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking.
And then, Doug, could you turn Michelle's volume up a little bit?
Paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance. And you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-906-1788. 800-906-1788. 800-906.
Again, no rejoin, but we will have music.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
It's just that simple, S-I-M-P, really simple as can be. It's just that simple, S-I-M-P, really simple.
Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demmer Sunseri, all things legal. You heard Big Lou.
I did hear Big Lou.
Big Lou is still scared to death of you because you did his second wife's divorce, huh? And I mean, you just tore him. Tore him up, man. He was so fed up with you.
I changed the law and everything on it.
Yes, he was. Now I do see Big Lou occasionally at the Caddy Shack.
Oh, you do? Yeah.
Yeah, he's sort of pot-bellied, slick back hair. He's got 2 peaking rings, got a lot of gold chains, silk shirt.
That's what it sounds like.
And he harasses all the waitresses too. He's like, "Yeah, come here, baby," all that kind of stuff. So Big Lou is terrified from you. And this guy who's not terrified from anybody. So you put it to Big Lou, and I think you sort of neutered him in some way. When he sees you, he looks like a eunuch. So anyway, but I'm surprised. You see, I knew Big Lou knew you were on today. He would have told the station to,
not run his commercial.
Not run his commercial today. So I know. And look, when I go to Caddy Shack, I try to be low key. I don't want to embarrass the guy. All right. Speaking of Big Lou and community property, there's a new trend, sort of a trend in society for whatever. Not it just is what it is. Not good, not bad, it just is happening. But there seems to be a lot of boomer divorces, more so than before.
We're seeing a lot of them these days.
And it seems like it happens when the kids are gone. The kids are in college. They sort of moved on in their lives, and they're sort of rattling around in the house together, and
the ones we've seen are even older than that. Like their kids have been gone. Like their kids already have their own kids.
Yeah, and it's sort of a, I think I know when we started, maybe 35 years ago, when I was doing estate planning, you were dealing with post World War I and depression. People coming out of depression. Mm-hmm. And, they were going to stay together thick and thin, no matter how unhappy they were or difficulties they were having, or even in abusive situations, they would stay together because that's what they just did back then. Now we're dealing with the 60s generation, a little more free love, a little more, the standards or mores aren't as aren't as written in cement as they used to be. And so we're sort of having these divorces. And what are some of the issues that are unique for boomer divorces, which that maybe aren't so prominent in just maybe 20s or 30s getting divorced and it's normal?
Well, when you're younger and we're dealing with younger divorces, we're usually not dealing with a lot of community property. You might have a house, you might have a little bit of a 401k, a couple of cars, but the community property partition or dividing of your assets is pretty simple. The boomer divorces, I see them either one of two ways. They're the couple that was barely getting by, and when, let's say, the wife comes to me, she realizes that there's just not enough money to go around. They're both living on Social Security. She can't live on her own. They don't have enough savings. That's one group we see.
And that's the cheaper to keep her group.
That is the cheaper to keep her group, or cheaper to keep him.
Right, right. I just said that because it rhymes, not because I'm sexist. It's a rhyme.
I know. And the other one is those who have high assets, and that's a whole different game. They might have a lot of money in the financial market, a lot of money in their IRAs or 401ks. They might have a couple of houses, and then it's dividing that. Are we going to have any kind of tax implications? How does Social Security play into that? So there's just kind of different issues with that class of boomers getting divorced.
Okay, let me give you some fact scenarios. And if you could explain to you, it's a little rapid fire round. Like we've had some divorce where somebody would work at a company like Entergy or maybe tech oil refinery, and let's say they worked for 5 years and they were contributing to a 401k plan before they were married, and they worked the next 35 years and for the same company, and they were contributing while they were married. So they had 40 years, 5 years before they were married and 35 years after they were married, and there's a 401k plan that was contributed to, or some kind of deferred compensation. Let's say 401k plan. Let's start with that.
Okay.
How do they figure out what was contributed before? How does that work as it pertains to the money that was contributed before the marriage and during the marriage, and how does that work out?
Well, the scenario you gave me is relatively easy because if you've been with the same company, then they have control over the plan, so you can get those statements. It's about proving it. So assuming you can get the statements, then you would take, it's called the Sims formula, but you would take a look at the amount of years you've worked, and then the amount of years of the marital, and then the amount of separate. So your separate years are going to have the gains and losses over those 35 years attributable to the market. That's yours. You're only going to divide what you were married during those years. The gains and losses attributable to that. So that's like a mixed classification.
And that's hard. How do you figure? That's hard to figure out.
Yeah, we don't figure it out. We hire we hire an expert to do that. Yeah. You're going back and you're looking at how the stocks, because they're all in stocks.
Right.
So what the markets did over the years. Now the problem is, and I've got a case like this right now, wherein you might have the statement from when you got married, and it might show you had $100,000, but you don't have the statements between the date you got married and the date you filed for divorce, and you don't know that money. You say that money went into your rollover, but you don't have any documents to show that it went into the rollover. It's your burden to prove that was your separate and that you didn't pull it out and do something else.
And that's hard to do because a lot of financial institutions, they don't have those documents back.
Usually, if you're with the same company, but if you've rolled it and you've moved it,
they've been a buyout or something.
Yeah, then it's difficult, and nobody thinks to keep those statements. Nobody thinks, oh, well, let me keep statements for 30 years, and so that's where it gets tricky. Yeah. And I also find that people really don't understand what makes community and what makes separate. I've had so many people come into my office and say, well, it's in my account. His name isn't on it. Yeah. All right, well, that really doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Right. And we hear that a lot, that let's say, for example, one, and I'm sort of changing directions here before we go to a break. You have the husband and wife. The husband, let's say the husband has bad credit. So the wife might buy the house just in her name, just because with the mortgage company they're like, keep the husband off of it, and so it's during the marriage, the property's in one of the spouse's name. In this example, is the wife, and the wife may come in and say, well, this property is in my name, so therefore it's not community property.
No, it is. It is community property.
It is, yeah.
But a lot of times we see that where the mortgage is in one spouse's name, but the cash act of sale was for both.
Both, yeah.
And that can prove to be sometimes kind of a quandary.
But basically, if you acquire the property during your marriage, it's going to be community.
Doesn't matter whose name is on it.
All right, let's go to a break. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, Michelle Demmer Sunseri, your weekend lawyers. Oh my gosh, I am in trouble. We'll be right back after this brief timeout.
He's a magic man.
Give me a second, we're doing some board stuff.
June 18th, Raising Cane's River Center. It's Heart in concert in Baton Rouge. For your chance to win a pair of tickets to an evening with Heart, go to wwl.com/contest. Don't miss the iconic rock and roll of Ann and Nancy Wilson and Heart. Courtesy of Live Nation and WWL.
Do you feel like you're going through life clouded by doubt? Talk to California Psychics. Our trusted and accurate psychics are available 24/7, and we guarantee if it's not life-changing, it's free. Download the app or connect with us at CaliforniaPsychics.com. Right now, new customers get 80% off their first reading. Experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was going to unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
This is Ian Ozan. Being able to hear is vital to what I do every day. That's why I trust my ears to Dr. Lander Koskaran and the Koskaran Earwax and Ear Health Clinic in Harahan. Not only is Dr. Koskaran a board-certified family nurse practitioner with postdoctoral ENT training, he's also my high school classmate. So if you need earwax removed or a hearing test or other ear issues taken care of, give Dr. Lander Koskaran a call at 504-667-3450. That's 504-667-3450. Or go to earhealthclinics.com.
Paint ain't paint. Helm Paint Decorating knows that. That's why they sell the best paint on the planet. Benjamin Moore Paint. They know as do professional painters. That's why they've been getting Benjamin Moore paint from Helm Paint and Decorating for over half a century. Helm Paint and Decorating is an iconic New Orleans company. Family owned, family operated, been around over 50 years. Helm Paint and Decorating knows paint ain't paint. So go to Helm Paint and Decorating, where quality, service, and family all come together and get the best paint on the planet.
Join me, Jacqueline Coley, on the brand new podcast, Seen on the Screen, presented by Make It Universal and Rotten Tomatoes. Meet the innovative people at NBC Universal as they share their journeys, inspirations, and the movies that shaped them. Each episode is an intimate and fun conversation about the impact of film. Seen on the Screen is available now.
You can find it on Apple, Odyssey, YouTube, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
This is Attorney Doug Sunseri, host of All Things Legal on Sunday morning.
This is Attorney Michelle Demmer Sunseri. Many are experiencing unique family law difficulties resulting in divorce and custody issues.
Also, we learn the importance of estate planning, wills, and powers of attorney.
At Nicaud and Sunseri Law Firm, we make the complex understandable.
Call me at my Metairie office at 504-837-1304.
Or call me, the boss lady, on the North Shore in Mandeville at 985-624-9697. 5-624-9697.
Boss lady, really?
Celebrate twice as much with NordVPN's birthday deal. Get 72% off and a coupon for up to 1 year free. Visit NordVPN and discover the benefits. Secure up to 10 devices with a single account. Encrypt your online traffic. Reduce the risk of phishing, scams, and malware with NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro. Get the special birthday deal at nordvpn.com. Additional terms apply. NordVPN.
When you haven't found love, it can feel like everyone else has. It's in every movie, every song, and all the PDA. Looking for love sucks. Thankfully, California Psychics can give you the guidance you need to find the one. We guarantee if your reading isn't life-changing, it's free. And new customers receive 20 minutes for just $20. Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com and experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
Listen to WWL and your favorite shows anytime, anywhere on the free Odyssey app. Presented by the LCMC Health Crescent City Classic. A race for all, y'all. Keep it locked on WWL for breaking sports news. Powered by BetMGM. Smarter bets start with BetMGM. Download the BetMGM app or visit BetMGM.com today. WWL is proudly sponsored by Dudley DeBosier Injury Lawyers. Call 444-4444.
Non-attorney spokesperson, Chad Dudley, New Orleans.
Bobby Aber, KJ Cannon here. This week, FanDuel is bringing you a Dog of the Day Profit Boost token. One of the best parts about the tournament is when an underdog takes down a powerhouse. And right now, those upsets get even better. Because if your underdog bet wins, you'll land even more winnings with a profit boost. This is your chance to ride with the long shots, the scrappy teams, the ones that refuse to go quietly. If you've been waiting to join FanDuel, look, there's no better time. The app is so easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Just visit FanDuel.com/Hebert, that's HEBERT, to download America's #1 sportsbook today and back your dog of the day with a profit boost. Because, after all, anything can happen in March.
21 plus and present in Louisiana. Permitted parishes only. Opt-in required. Wager of at least plus 100 odds required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-7867.
This is Ian Ozan. Going to the dentist shouldn't leave you filled with anxiety. In fact, you should feel relaxed at your dentist's office. That's why you should see my friends at Terry Dental Aesthetics, Julia Street at Rampart in downtown New Orleans. It's the perfect combination of a spa-like atmosphere and a dentist office, and Dr. Terry and his crew will take care of all of your needs, from basic exams and cleanings to tooth whitening, Invisalign, veneers, Botox, dermal fillers, and more. So give them a call at 504-446-1011 or book now at terryaesthetics.com.
Are you a business owner doing your own bookkeeping? Why? It makes no sense, literally. Focus on what you do well, like growing your business, and let Accounting Services Unlimited handle your bookkeeping. Hi, this is Thomas Fontes. Accounting Services Unlimited is insanely affordable and will come to you. Call for a free quote. Accounting Services Unlimited, 504-717-6253. That's 717-6253. Or visit us at asu-llc.com.
Hey folks, it's Terry Bradshaw. Growing up in Louisiana, I've always had a special place in my heart for New Orleans. It's how good you feel when you're here, like there's no place else you'd rather be. Let my friends at New Orleans and Company help you plan your trip, meeting, or event at neworleans.com.
From Botox to tummy tucks, choose Weiler Plastic Surgery Group, Slidell. Welcome to Staples.
I hear Staples prints it all for any business?
You bet, and we'll beat any print quote.
So if I had a pizza place...
Staples can print signs, menus, pizza boxes.
A landscaping business?
Oh, we can print yard signs, t-shirts, brochures.
How...
All right. I lost. I don't have anything.
Yeah, we do.
All right. I'll let you know when I get back on. It's resetting.
What happened?
The new board's messing up.
I don't think we're on over the air.
No, you're out. There's nothing on the air.
I think we're on over the air.
It's dead air.
Hear anything, do anything. Okay. I mean, the stack is registering volume, but like something he did over here isn't.
All right, I'm back on.
Hey, I'm Rob Bradford
Okay,
from
I hear
Baseballs
something.
and Boring, and we'll have you covered every
I hear
single day
there's
with
commercial
instant
on. Can you hear
reactions
me,
to
Cullen?
late-breaking signings, determining
Test,
which
test.
players are, yes, truly in the best shape of their
Cullen.
lives, and behind-the-scenes stories from all the excitement and intrigue that spring training brings. Follow Baseballs and Boring in the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Change the profile and it lets it go. It goes, I'm done with it. And then someone else has it, they go, oh, I can have it now, and it takes it. Okay. So it says listen only, and here's how you know where to go look and see who has it. You hit the pot right here. Go to sources.
Feet still hurting from Mardi Gras? I got an idea. Why don't you give up foot pain for Lent? Hey, it's Tommy Tucker, and I can't believe how the Good Feet store gave me my life back and made me more active than I've ever been in my life. And obviously, I'm older than I've ever been. We all are. I have flat feet, and my feet hurt when I walked, ran, or just stood for most of my life. Then I thought I'd try the Good Feet store. The Good Feet store hooked me up with Good Feet arch supports, and I am finally pain-free. I can walk without worrying about how far I go, and I can stand as long as I want without it hurting. To me, it's a miracle. I'm thankful for it. If your feet hurt, please do yourself a favor. Bring your own work shoes, high heels, whatever you wear, into the Good Feet store and take a free test.
Mic check. Mic check. Mic check.
Can you hear me yet?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, I got you back. Yeah, I got you back.
All right. Are we going to go back on?
Yeah, I'm reorganizing the log.
Yeah. They'll give us a time back through the news.
No, I mean we'll be fine. We'll be fine. I got him back.
All right.
That's how that works. Yeah, that's how that works.
Oh, is there anything? I don't hear anything on the air.
You don't hear anything?
Nope.
No.
Take it.
Take it.
We're back on the air. Take it.
Hey, we're back. We had about 13 minutes of technical difficulty back in the studio, and we'll continue where we were before 13 minutes ago. We were talking about Boomer community property, and we're talking about some of the unique aspects of it. And one of the things we were talking about before is a lot of times when you have these boomer community property issues, you have people later in life who have a lot of time, a lot of assets that are built. They have their 401ks, and it's sort of how to split that up. But one of the things we'll talk about maybe for the rest of this hour and the next hour is a lot of times if you have a boomer divorce, you might be in your 50s, 60s, or even in your 70s, and you had a small business that you had all your life, or not necessarily a small business, a big business, and maybe you had one spouse who owned the business for 30, 40 years, and you might have had another spouse who worked maybe for a more traditional job, 9-to-5 job with a 401k. But what are some of the unique aspects of a boomer divorce when you have you got to value a business that was built during the existence of the community?
I don't think that's just for a boomer divorce.
But any divorce, but it's very prominent. Maybe it's more so in a boomer divorce than a regular divorce, but.
Sure. So we have experts that will value businesses, and so we'll put a value on it. It depends on what type of business it is. Sometimes there are documents that a spouse might have signed that might say that upon dissolution of marriage, the value will be book value versus market value. So that can be an issue. But we value the business, and sometimes if the business is worth so much that one spouse can't buy the other one out. So they wind up either. I guess it depends if there are any partners or anything. You can wind up being co-owners. or buying somebody out over time.
Right. Because one of the times, let's say if you have an industrial type business, where you have a business that you own a bunch of equipment, and a lot of the value is in the equipment that you buy, and it's not a lot of cash. It's value rich, but not necessarily cash rich, and also you might have a bunch of loans.
The loans are going to offset the value of it.
But what are some of the alternatives if there's not enough cash in the business to be bought out by the other spouse? What are some of the things that can be done? Maybe.
Well, we don't look at everything in a vacuum. So we take a look at all the assets. There might be like a retirement account or a house that might offset the business. You're really just trying to look at the total of the net community and divide it by two.
I guess what I was trying to get at, let's say you had an asset that had value but not a lot of cash in it, like real estate, or
we're not just looking at the cash. We're just looking at the value.
And sometimes you can take some of the other assets that you were saying that have more of a liquid value or some value and sort of offset that. Which in one way was like horse trading.
Yeah, it's absolutely like horse trading. The problem is if you are horse trading a cash asset for a retirement asset, because a dollar in your retirement isn't equal to a dollar in your hand. Depending upon what their age, there might not.
Just can you give a quick explanation as to that, as why a dollar in a retirement account in the context of a community property settlement would not be the same as a dollar?
Well, you can't offset those two, because if somebody needs cash to pull it out of the retirement account, it's going to cost them. It might not cost them the penalty if they pull it out if they're over age, or if it's done via quadro, but it's going to be a taxable event. So when we offset those two, we always try to figure out, okay, so if we're trading a $50,000 cash asset for a $50,000 in an IRA, we have to tax up the IRA or tax up the amount to pay that spouse what the taxes are going to be. So it's not a dollar for dollar.
So in essence, at some point, and we'll talk about this. You very rarely go to trial. You usually cut a deal before you ever go to trial.
A lot of times we go to special masters. I mean, we do try some. It just depends on what court you're in.
Okay. So that's an hour. Break number hour. Hopefully, hour number 2 will go a little more smoother without technical glitches. But thank you for staying tuned through the glitches. Back for hour number 2 and all things legal. Stay tuned for national news, local news. We'll be back in about 10 minutes on all things legal.
Saints, LSU, and Pelicans. 870 AM WW.
Catch your breath. We're straighter.
New Orleans and Odyssey Station.
Could they hear the feedback?
This is CBS News on the Hour.
No. We were just having issues with the board connection. There's
at least 34 are dead across 6 southern states after a monster
I think that was because the board your Comrex got picked up by another board, and it basically got hijacked, and I couldn't hear you through this. And then I had to get that board to let go control while we brought it back to this board. It was very tricky.
Their home was gone. A fire broke out in a nightclub in Macedonia.
Good news is that we
59 people were
used up a lot of the spots. We used up a lot of the commercials, so this hour is going to be pretty light.
What am I supposed to do? 150 for me in life. I don't.
We got about 8-10 minutes.
Yeah, so we'll have
Dozens were injured. The BBC's Guy Delany.
Little bit of a shorter.
Pyrotechnics on stage sparked the fire that ignited the roof.
You could see from video footage that there are then flames creeping across the ceiling, and there are staff attempting to put out those flames with fire extinguishers. And at that point in the video, there's a lot of noise in the crowd, but there doesn't seem to be any panic. But then later on, videos from outside the venue show that the fire has really caught hold and it's engulfed the entire building, and the scale of the casualties is quite devastating.
President Trump's tariffs are impacting the nation. That's what Maryland Governor Wes Moore told CBS's Face the Nation.
It's having a very real impact on our economic engines and American competitiveness, as well as our national security. And so these are the type of things, this erratic behavior is the things that people were concerned about, and we are now seeing in real time in our states.
Maryland is home to the Port of Baltimore, one of the country's largest ports. The Houthis say 31 were killed after the president ordered a series of airstrikes. Here's CBS's Christiane Benavides.
The president wrote on social media Saturday that he ordered a, quote, decisive and powerful military action against the Houthi terrorists in Yemen, saying they have waged an unrelenting campaign of piracy, violence, and terrorism against American and other ships, aircraft, and drones.
2 astronauts will finally get a ride home from space. CBS's Matt Piper reports.
A SpaceX capsule arrives at the International Space Station. In it, a crew of 4 to help that crew of 2 who's been stuck for months. Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams expected to be gone just a week when they launched on Boeing's first astronaut flight last June. Weather permitting, the capsule should undock from the space station no earlier than Wednesday and splash down off Florida's coast.
March Madness is officially here. It's Selection Sunday, and the NCAA men's and women's tournament brackets will be released tonight. Selection for the men's begins at 6 p.m. Eastern on CBS. For the women's, it's at 8 p.m. on ESPN. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Well, St. Patrick's Day is tomorrow. For many, that means sucking back a Guinness.
At 266 years old, Guinness is in the midst of a resurgence. It was the fastest growing imported beer in the U.S. last year. National brand ambassador Ryan Wagner.
So you're not just finding it in an Irish pub. The first thing we would tell someone is don't let the colors scare you away. It's light in body, it's a little roasty, it's a little toasty, incredibly.
Yeah, I hear that echo.
Something that's built around occasion.
Steve K.
Gets really old really fast.
Along with that Guinness, you may have some corned beef.
I might need to watch some golf after this, man.
That's not really an Irish dish at all. Beef was not readily available in Ireland and was considered a luxury, so the traditional meal was centered around bacon instead, but not the crispy bacon we are all used to. Boiled bacon, along with potatoes and cabbage. Stacey Lynn, CBS News.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
William is one of millions of Americans who uses GoodRx to save on the cost of their prescriptions.
My oldest daughter, Camilla, 2 days old, she had to have open heart surgery. All of a sudden, she's on 5 different medications. It adds up at the end of the month. Me and the pharmacist got so tight. She said, GoodRx saved you a lot of money. Saving that extra $200-300 a month. We're able to do all these extra activities, so it puts less stress on our household, and it puts less stress on our pockets.
Download the free app or visit GoodRx.com and start saving today. GoodRx user compensated for their time. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance.
This WWL Sports Update is brought to you by People's Health. Last night, the New Orleans Pelicans had things tied heading into halftime against the Spurs, but imploded in the third.
Sohan half-court shot, good if it goes. Yep, banked it in.
Yeah, I was going to mention the Pels. They lost their 50th game last night.
Spurs in the third on a 20.
Pels lost their 50th game last night.
Take it.
I want to say I was looking at the schedule and I was kind of mapping it out. Their worst season ever was 64 losses. So if we lose, every single game left of the year will tie our record for the worst record with
ESPN senior NFL reporter Jeremy
Fowler was like, no, I want to say it was a year or two after that.
signing wide receiver Velus Jones Jr.
But we're certainly in the running for like one of our top three because our third worst season was 52 losses. I'm pretty sure we're going to lose more than 2 games in the last 14 that we have.
Braswell gave the Tigers their first SEC series.
And then
another payoff pitch. Braswell with a base hit, lifted to left field. That'll score Milam. RBI single for Brazzy, and it's now 7-4 LSU.
That's so good. Nothing sweeter than a 2-strike, 2-out single to score a run.
Hear that? Tigers are eyeing the Brooms and a 15-game win streak ahead of game 3 of their series later today.
Yeah, okay. I want to make sure he didn't lose you for a second.
Right here on WWL.
We're still having, again, I can play commercials and stuff, and I can play music, but I don't have any of the stuff to get us in and out of breaks. Yeah, it's literally just rejoins and sweeps. It's not the end of the world. We can work around it. Yeah.
West. High temperatures this
we're having an issue with wide orbit. We're in the process of getting that ironed out.
low temperatures fall to about.
And we were trying to do it, and then that's what caused the issue with your Comrex a minute ago. So I just told Danny, hey, let's wait and work on this after the show.
Wednesday, well into the 70s, but it will be pretty nice. There is just a small chance for a shower or two on Wednesday. Then we'll cool down back to the 60s on Thursday and Friday. From WWL Louisiana, I'm meteorologist Alexa Trischler.
And I'm Ian Ozan, WWL First News. Have a wonderful Sunday.
From WWL, the News Talk Sports.
And yeah, again, these breaks are, I kind of spread them out a little bit more to be more evenly because this first break is now really short. But don't feel any rush to try to get out on time. Not until the end of the hour. I'll keep you guys on track there.
Or connect anytime, anywhere on the Odyssey app. Now, to our Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union studios in the heart of New Orleans, here are attorneys Albert Nicaud and Doug Sunseri.
Hey, we're back for hour number 2. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud. Michelle Sunseri did that twice today.
That's okay. I know I'm not Albert.
I know you're not Albert too. Believe me. Believe me. We were on until 10 o'clock today. All things legal. Give us a call 260-1870 or text us at 260-1870. You know, we probably do once every 7-8 shows. Once every couple of months.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah, first time this year.
Yeah.
But we've been on for 17 years. Yes, 17 years. So I always tell Albert we just got 13 more to beat Carson. He was on for 30. I don't think so. I don't think so. We were before we go back to our community property discussion. It is want to talk a little bit about the Saints.
Okay.
And I'll give you a legal analogy. You ever we've done maybe divorces or successions. When somebody lives in this big beautiful house, has a bunch of beautiful cars, and has a vacation house. And then when you add up all the debts and liabilities, the debts are as much as the assets.
Oh yeah, I know what that looks like.
You know what I'm saying? And you're like, from the look of things, they're pretty good. But they have no net worth because they have as much debt. So all they've been doing is just paying. If they wanted something, they just go further into debt rather than saving any money.
Correct.
And that often catches us by surprise, and sometimes when you're trying to settle the estate or settle the divorce, you're dealing with the creditors as much as you are dealing with the assets.
Right.
That's what the Saints are sort of like right now, in the sense of their salary cap. The Saints have been chronically in debt for future debt to pay today's salary cap. In other words, what they do is they'll take a player's salary, like Derek Carr, which was almost like $60 million, and they'll convert it to a signing bonus. So when they convert it to a signing bonus, and it's 3 years on his contract left, you divide that signing bonus for the purpose of the salary cap by free, so you get 20,000 this year, 20,000 next year, and 20,000 the following year. So all you're doing is basically, in layman's terms, you have a debt. Instead of paying off the debt, you get another credit card to refinance that debt, and you're going to have to pay it off at a higher interest rate later, or at a higher cost later. You're not dealing with the problem. You just kick
Kicking it down
can
down
down the road. And that's what the Saints are doing. They got Derek Carr. He was you were fixing to take about a $60 million cap hit. They refinanced it. Now they're going to take a $20 million cap hit in 2027, $20 million cap hit in 2026, and add that to the prior cap hit. You're going to have a $70 million cap hit for Derek Carr next year.
Yeah, didn't they?
Yeah, they restructured it. Right. They reclassified his signing bonus to his salary to a signing bonus. This next year is the perfect year, just like when you have debt, to tighten your belt, not buy anything new, and get rid of the debt, and take your hits, so that you can have a clear cap for 26 and 27. And if you, in my opinion, want to go all in to win the Super Bowl, that's what you do. Is you clear it. You're not going to win next year. There's no way you're going to win next year. You take your hits. What's the difference between whether you go 5 and 12, or 6 and 11, or 4 and 13?
So did they do that to give them some room in their salary cap to get somebody else?
Well, what they're doing is they signed Chase Young. They signed Justin Reed and some bigger long-term contracts. But what they're doing is they're backloading the salaries again, so they're never going to get out of cap hell. I read a survey just during the break. They asked who are the worst managed teams in the NFL as far as the cap. Cleveland Browns, New Orleans Saints, Dallas Cowboys. New York Jets. But that name constantly came up, and it's just very disappointing that they had an opportunity next year. Just take your hits. Let's not sign any big time players. Trade off some assets to get some draft picks, because draft rookies are cheap labor. Then shed your veteran contracts where you're overpaying for performance. Take your hit on Derek Carr. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I think he's a mid-round quarterback, but his contract does not justify his performance. In other words, his contract is way higher than the market value for someone who performs at his level. So you're eating that's sort of dead money in itself. And I wish the Saints would not be so worried about trying to keep people trying to keep their jobs next year and be mediocre. Let's just go for bust. Let's just clear the cap. Take your hit next year. Be able to in 26 and 27 to have a lot of room in the cap to add the pieces that you want to start with the foundation this year with this year's draft. And in my opinion, you are putting a business plan for mediocrity.
Who makes those decisions?
Well, that's whoever's at the top. I'm not. He's won a Super Bowl, but sometimes I find with businessmen they reach a fork in the road. Am I going to keep doing the same things that I did before that worked 20 years ago but doesn't work today? Or do I adapt to the new technologies, to the new way of thinking, and incorporate that with my old thinking to do something a little different?
I know, but you can't look. I mean, we won the Super Bowl so long ago.
I know. That's my point. And a lot of times, Albert says this: your last success is your greatest barrier to your next success, because you can't keep doing the things the same way. The world's always changing. Situations always changing. NFL's always changing. And it's just interesting that they're doing that. I don't know, say disappointed, but I wish they would have a little more guts to go for broke. clear thing. Let the cap clear this year. Take your hits. Get rid of your veterans. Get a bunch of rookies in there. They're probably going to lose. Maybe win 4 or 5 games. Let Spencer Rattler see if he has it. Draft the quarterback in the 3rd or 4th, 5th round. Have a little competition with him to see if he can. He may be a long-term fixture. At least have some competition. And go for broke. Don't go for mediocrity. And that's what they're doing right now.
Well, that sounds like somebody who's kind of risk adverse.
Risk
We're
averse.
talking about somebody
Absolutely.
who's not
And
risk
I think you put that well. I wish they would be less risk averse. I mean, more less risk averse and more go for broke, because that's how you win championships. If you're risk averse, you're going to be mediocre.
Yeah.
I mean that's just. And sometimes the risk you take maybe it's not a good risk, but I think it is now, because what you've done the last 4 years doesn't work. Or 3 years does not work, and it's trending in the wrong position. Now, if we won a Super Bowl and we're in cap hell, okay, I can deal with that. But if you're what 7 and 10 or whatever you are, and you're in cap hell and you had made the playoffs in 4 years, no, you have the problems of winning without winning. But that's just my little thought process.
And perhaps the top, whoever makes the decisions, the top group or whatever. If you have everybody who's risk adverse, then nobody's
because you're part of that's because if you manage by committee, you are, and they saw it managed by committee, which is nothing wrong with that. But that's the downside of being managed by committee. If you have a hoss, you have someone, an alpha. You're either going to bust or you're going to win big, because they're going to take chances. But if you ever been on a committee for anything, for a civic organization, you've been on a committee for a church, you've been on a committee, it's just like it's risk averse. You take middle road. So that's just my little thought. And I had one other. We had a text asking about LSU basketball. It says, good morning. Why does LSU basketball team have a coach that can take us to the Final Four? Is it because of money? And I want to say we had a coach who could take us to the Final Four, Will Wade, but he got fired for NIL, doing NIL before it was legal. That was it. So that was just my little thought on the Saints, and I hope they win. I'd love to be proven wrong in the next 4 years, and I'd love to come on, because we'd be in year 21 by then at WWL 4 years, and say, you know what, I was wrong. I was wrong on March 16th of 2025. Congratulations to the Saints.
Now, why are you talking about 4 years?
Because I think we're going to be in the same place in 4 years with the media, with this philosophy, rather than going for broke, clearing your cap, and then go for it 27, 26, 27, and 28. All right. We were talking about community property. We saw it had a little glitch for about 10 minutes. So we were talking about baby boomers. Now Cullen wanted to clarify. Are you saying boomer divorces? Now Cullen's 24, right, Cullen? He may not be able to talk back to us right now, but he's 24.
Yes,
he's
I'm
up
25.
25. There you go. I'm sorry, short you.
It's fine. I'll take that extra year.
To Cullen, boomers would be his grandfather.
Yeah.
That age group on up. And they're it's just sort of a little trend in our industry to see a lot of older couples with their kids gone. They're in their, I don't want to say it. They're eligible for the AARP card.
I think you can get that when like you're 55.
You get that when you're 50. But
I heard 80's going to be the new 40s.
Oh heck yeah! We're going to be the next 40 at 80. Absolutely.
A long way to go.
I know. But our mindset will be 80's just not the end. It's take care of yourself, work out, eat right, do all that. You'll be okay at 80 most part. But there's some unique aspects of these, I guess, divorces for boomers. You got retirement accounts. A lot of times they're own businesses. One thing you're not dealing with is custody, like you do with younger divorces. And then they sort of have a little bit of the interplay with Social Security, and how does, if they're drawing Social Security, how does that work?
That affects spousal support.
Okay.
Because a lot of times we'll get, that's what we were talking about earlier, we'll get to a couple that they might have decent retirements, but the cash flow coming in is not sufficient for either one of them to live on their own. And so you might have one spouse who might have a need for spousal support, but the other spouse, he's just pulling his Social Security and maybe some from his retirement, but he doesn't have enough disposable to help her, or vice versa. And so then you're looking at how are you going to support yourself, because a spouse cannot be held to pull from their patrimony or from their assets to pay support to another spouse.
Okay. Now, just quick lesson. What is spousal support? What are the types of spousal support?
Spousal support is what some people refer to as alimony. I guess that was the words back in the long time ago, but we call it spousal support. So there's two kinds of spousal support. There's interim and final. Interim is paid like from the time you file your petition for divorce until 6 months after the judgment of divorce. And then final support is something that's kind of like a rehabilitation to let the spouse who's like maybe needs to be re-educated or find a job or go, or you're a nurse and you let your license lapse, you have to get reinstated.
Now spousal support, like permanent or final spousal support, they used to call it permanent alimony back when Ronald Reagan was finishing up his term in the late 80s. Is they had back then they had more, I'll say traditional families, but you might have had kind of Brady Bunch type family, or where you had dad that worked, mom was stay-at-home mom. They had children, and so mom may have sacrificed her vocational opportunities or education to be a mom, and then she's single, and she doesn't have a lot of vocational skills, and she needs some time to. She needs to be paid a monthly stipend until she's able to get some kind of skill set to earn a living. But that's a little different these days because it's more equity, where both husband and wife probably have comparable educational.
Well, and not always. And Louisiana is not a favorable spousal support state. There are other states for final support where you don't have to prove. Like in Louisiana, you have to prove you're free from fault in the demise of the marriage. If you can't prove that, you get no final support.
Okay. So like when you say free from fault, like an example of that would be, let's say you had one spouse who didn't have a lot of vocational skills, and the other spouse was maybe a professional who was a doctor or something. Now the spouse who, but let's say the spouse who is not vocationally trained. Even though under normal circumstances, he or she would be entitled to spousal support if she's at fault for something like maybe infidelity.
Infidelity, something called cruel and habitual intemperament, any of the legal faults that we used to use back in the day with separation from bed and board. If you're found to have any of those faults, you can't get final support, and so that's the first hurdle you have to get through to get final support. And in other states, they don't have that.
Now, just for you men, one of the grounds for
lack of sex.
You said lack of sex. I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say something like lack of intimacy.
Well, intimacy can be
sexual intimacy.
Well, it's just
but you like lack of sex.
It is lack of sex.
So men, there's some men who are like, their ears are perking up right now saying, we're going to probably start some arguments now. They're going to be at the dinner table. You might have had a little couple
breaks in.
dry spell, and husband will say, I heard Michelle on the radio say, lack of sex, you don't get spousal support if we divorce. Probably starting all kinds of stuff today. So there you go. But there's free from fault, and
even then, even if you can prove that, in Louisiana, final support is it's really just your basic necessities. It's not to keep you in the lifestyle in which you're accustomed, which is what you get in interim.
So if you were living a Kardashian lifestyle before you were married, like Kim Kardashian, which I mean, a lot of bling, a lot of high living, and then you want spousal support, and you say final spousal support. Say I want to keep that lifestyle. That's probably not going to happen in Louisiana.
Well, you're not going to keep it with spousal support payments. Now, if you were living that lifestyle, assuming you're not like the saints and you're just full of debt and you have assets, you can live it if you get the assets.
There you go. That's it. Saints got that credit card. I want them to clear the credit card so they can win.
I know, because you know,
I love the Saints. I'm not doing it to be critical. I'm really not.
I know.
I mean, I'm just not. But I just want them to win, and I don't think they can win having that big credit card rolled over every year. Just like you would tell your kid, if you got a child and he's in debt, what do you tell him to get out of debt? Don't spend a lot of money and pay it off. Don't get another credit card. It's not the solution, right?
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that operate like that.
I know. Yeah, it's very interesting. You say that. And this comes in the context of estate planning. When we first started doing this, I started in the late '80s. You had a lot of people who were coming out that World War I Depression generation. Now they might not have made a lot of money throughout their lifetime. Maybe I remember one that never made more than $15 an hour, and he had almost $1 million saved. It's because they had a saver mentality, saver mentality. I'm starting to see in our generation that is more live for today, and keeping up with the Joneses, maybe whatever it may be, or just and that they have a lot of assets, but they also have a lot of debt. And you're like, what the heck? I mean, it just doesn't. To me, it doesn't make sense. But
I saw a pendulum. So at one point, I don't know, maybe it was about 15 to 20 years ago, people were coming in with super high credit card debt. And then it kind of started to go down. It's starting to pick up. There was a period of time where I wasn't really dealing with that much credit card debt.
Yeah.
And when I deal with estates and do successions, I rarely see high credit card debt.
Yeah, because that generation doesn't believe in credit card debt.
I mean, and if I do, it might be 5,000. Something simple.
All right. Let's go to a break. Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demers Sunseri, All Things Legal. We'll be right back after this brief time out.
I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitations. I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitations. Good vibrations. She's giving me the excitations. Good vibrations. She's somehow closer now. Softly smile, I know she must be kind.
That's still funny. Top 40. I think they can do Casey Kasem's top 40.
She goes with me to a blossom room. I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitations. I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitations. Picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitations. Picking up good vibrations.
CBS News Brief. The death toll has risen to over 30 from a line of severe storms crossing the U.S. Joy Asdu and her kids took shelter when a tornado hit their home outside St. Louis.
I thought that we were going to die. My kids was crying. I was just trying to cover their heads.
At least 59 people are dead and more than 150 hurt after a...
Yeah. Doug, you there?
The BBC's Guy Delano says fireworks may have started the blaze.
You could see from video footage that there are then flames
What's up?
across the ceiling, and there are staff attempting to put out those flames. Extinguishers.
At least 30 people were killed in U.S. airstrikes targeting Houthi rebels in Yemen after the group threatened to resume its attacks.
Okay, give me 1 second. Well, all right. We're coming back. Okay, I'm gonna just tell you to take it. Okay.
Saturday that he ordered a decisive and powerful military action against the Houthi terrorists.
Are you sure? I don't know if we can do that.
Just tell them that
The local tax resolution specialist. We work with accounting firms, individuals, and businesses alike. Go Tax Resolution is here to help.
No, we got it. We got the commercials on. We're good.
1040.
You hear it?
That's 985-722-1040. Or reach out to us at gotaxresolution.com. GEAUX taxresolution.com.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it'd go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was going to unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
If you want jazz music, go to New Orleans. Bagels, New York. And for psychics, think California Psychics. You want the best, you go to the best. At California Psychics, home of...
Actually, Doug, you there?
We know better than anyone.
We actually, my gift to you, we have a caller.
Is it life-changing?
We have... Let me pull it up real quick. It's a caller who actually was asking for the big boss lady.
California Psychics.
Tom from St. Bernard, he wanted some questions regarding capital gains tax on an inheritance of a home.
Brand new Honda. Okay. And everyone has their budget and needs to consider. At Honda of Covington, we have something for everyone. Our goal is to find the vehicle you'll enjoy for years to come, like the 2025 Civic Sport.
Yes. Yeah. And it's Tom. He's calling from St. Bernard. His the home is located in St. Bernard.
Rate subject to change. WAC through America Honda Finance.
Delgado Community College's spring 12-week and 8-week sessions are the perfect opportunities to take some general education classes and earn credit that will meet the requirements for many majors. Delgado credits transfer to most Louisiana universities, and we accept prior credits from most universities as well. 12-week session classes begin on February 17th, and the 8-week session begins on March 19th.
Did you just hear him clear his throat?
C.edu.
That's Tom. I have him patched into the board. This is the issue I've been telling you about. Like he's patched into the board right now. He is not on the air at all, but I have him powered through the board so that we can go to him, and you kind of hear him in the background. So if he were to say Doug sucks right now, you'd probably hear that.
Control of your tax situation.
A lot of kinks. We're ironing them out, man. We're ironing them out. I sent you a picture of you. You see what the board is like.
Call 985-722-1040 or reach out
to it looks like a spaceship.
GeauxTaxResolution.com. That's GEAUX taxresolution.com.
Hi, this is Sam with Go Tax Resolution. Is this the year to solve your tax debt issues? Have you gotten notices from the IRS or state agencies? Put an end to your sleepless nights.
I can't wait till everything is straightened out.
Tax resolution specialist. We work with...
I was dreading the LSU game later today. Now I'm excited because that should be very simple. It's just baseball. Turn my brain off. Watch some good baseball.
That's 985-722-1040. Or reach out to us at gotaxresolution.com. GEAUX taxresolution.com.
Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demers, Sunseri, all things legal. We got a call from the parish. Tom, who is the parish is known for our friend Bobby April, Coach. Hello, Coach, if you're listening. And Mitchell Robinson, center for the New York Knicks. Do a little work for him. And so, Tom, what you got for us on all things legal?
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Good.
I'm glad to hear that the boss lady. I love that. Love that commercial. Love that commercial. Listen, quick question for you guys. My wife and I, once we pass, we have a house, has some property. Trying to set up, we have one heir, my son. I heard if he inherits, he's going to inherit the house that we have. If he decides to sell this house, would he pay capital gains tax? And how is that determined? Where does that figure come from? Is it from the original price that my wife and I paid when we built this house years and years ago? Or I read a little bit online where they say that the IRS, I think, would issue a new price on the house, and that would be the starting price where he would have to make a determination what he's going to do for capital gains. How does that work?
That's a great question.
Yeah. So when you do a succession, you value the property at the time of death, and that value is the stepped up basis. So anything that he sells it over that value would be a capital gains.
Anything from that value? Who issues that value?
The value is determined. So like when we do successions, we either get the property appraised. A lot of times we do, or if the heirs can agree as to a price.
So at the time of succession, when this is turned over to him, that's when a new value will be placed on the house.
Correct.
That'll be your basis.
That'll be your basis. That'll be your cost basis.
Okay. A friend of mine told me, I don't know, I'm just talking to different people. If I put the house on his name right now, and let's just say 10 years from now, we both pass, he's going to inherit it anyhow. Would that be some kind of way to get around the capital gains taxes?
No. Actually, that's worse because
that is worse, right?
If you donate it to him, the cost basis will be what you donate.
And then it's going to be.
I think
have a tax issue right then. But I don't know. I'm not.
No. It's better to wait. It's better to wait.
It's better to wait, right?
Yes, it's better to wait. You'll have a tax consequence if you do the donation.
So let's say, for example, Tommy. Let's say, for example, let's just use a figure. Let's say at the time of death, the house is worth $500,000, and then he turns around and he sells it. And he sells it, and he lists it for $500 or $550. By the time he pays closing costs and commissions, he's not really having that much of a gain if he sells it right then. Now, if he holds it and it appreciates, then he's going to have a capital gain.
But there's no tax benefit of doing something before.
No.
Okay.
You got the stepped up. It's like being on an escalator. If you do it before, you don't get to use the escalator. That's the best visual I can get.
I like that. Okay, I think that answers my question. I think that's what we're going to do. I believe just wait.
Just wait. Yeah, just get a will and just have an independent administration in there. I don't know if he's the only heir. It's probably not a big deal, but just a simple will is the best way of doing it, and he'll get that stepped up basis. All right.
Sounds good. Thank you all
right, my
very
man,
much.
Tom. Thanks. It's interesting. We were talking about that. We had a.
You know what to do. Also with that, to keep it what you've done before. So and you have to really trust your spouse. But if you do last spouse, so the spouse leaves, first spouse dying leaves to the second spouse the house. Second last spouse standing leaves to the son. Then the entire house stepped up basis is at the last death rather than the usufruct and half of the house being at the first spouse's death. But you have to.
That's only if you.
You have to trust that the will's not going to be changed.
Right. That
has its own implications.
Right. So that would definitely be one, because if you don't have a usufruct for the surviving spouse, the surviving spouse could theoretically.
No, it's not about a usufruct.
No, but if you don't have one.
No, you just give it. You give it all to the spouse.
Without a usufruct. You see, the usufruct allows at least the deceased spouse portion not to be redirected.
That's what I'm saying. You have to trust that the second spouse is not going to change the will.
So those are one of those trade-off decisions you have to make.
Right.
You know, it's interesting you were talking about that. We had not too long ago on a couple occasions where you'd have these landlords who picked up property 40, 50 years ago, they might have picked up 10, 20, 30 units, and they held on to them. And as they got older, they wasn't, they didn't have their other job, or they didn't have another source of income, and you had the insurance, you had the cost to maintain them. And there was a question, so do we want to sell this property or not before before the person passed? And the problem was, let's say you bought 20 units of apartment complex for $200,000. Now it's worth $2.5 million.
Yeah, you're paying.
You're going to be paying almost capital gains on $2.25 million. Whereas if you waited until that person owns the apartment complex is no longer here, it passes, and then you sell the apartment complex the children do, the cost basis would be $2.5 million, and they wouldn't be paying taxes.
Yeah.
So there's some dilemmas. There's some things you can do. You can go into REITs, not REITs, but you can do a 50.
You can do a 503
exchange. But with a fund, there's all kinds of things you can do, but it'll put limitations on your if you go into like a fund that is a 501(c)(3) fund, you have to hold on to your money for X amount of time. There's things to do that, but that's some real issues that you have to deal with. And so that's an example of the stepped up basis. Is and that's probably one of the best questions we get when we do wills and estate planning. Is say, do you have to pay capital gains? Do I have to pay capital gains? I said, it'll be greatly mitigated if you wait until death, because you get that escalator where the cost basis will be at the date of death as opposed to when you bought it. And this also goes for stock. Like if you bought Apple stock for $10, and with all the splits now it's worth $2,000. That's including all the splits and all those sort of things. If you sold it before you died, you're paying capital gains between that $10 and $2,000. Whereas if you wait until after death and then the heir sold it, it would be based on the cost on the date of death.
Right.
So that it's a lot of it's I'm gonna say simple, but there's basic things you should do not to pay Uncle Sam. There's two things that I've found out in fractional law for 35 years. One, people do not like to pay taxes, and they do not like to come to our office unnecessarily.
Yeah.
A little
Well, and you know what? People have and all that comes into like Medicaid planning.
Yes.
Because people's first reaction is sell the assets so we can have cash. And like I was doing one the other day talking about an estate, and there was just a lot of issues going on around some Medicaid planning, and they just wanted to sell the house to get money. And I'm like, that's the worst thing you can do
for Medicaid planning.
But they were there for something else, but they also started talking about the Medicaid planning, and I'm like, now you've opened up another door, and
what I say?
Just sell that.
Estate planning is about trade-offs. Mm-hmm. You get something and you lose something. And with the estate plan is what I'm getting in making this estate plan is the benefit of that is greater than the cost. I'm not saying financial cost, but the lack of benefit or the consequence of it. So that's what really it is. And what a good estate planner does is figure out what are the trade-offs, and what are the trade-offs that suit you. Because certain trade-offs that for one person might not be acceptable for another person. So it's very individualized, and it's very specific, because some people feel comfortable with some risk. Some people want zero risk. Some people want to plan for if they have a long-term illness. Other people are like, I'm not really concerned about that. I'm not going to part with some of my assets on the possibility that I might have a long-term illness. So it's just basically based on a person's sensibilities, what they want. And what one plan someone thinks is great may not be a good plan for others, because they just have different ideas and different concerns, different fears. I find the higher level of fear or concern, the higher level, maybe you have to might be a different plan.
Had a break soon.
Someone who's saying, "Hey, I just want to live. I want to, I just want to spend our money and enjoy my life and not worry about all that sort of thing."
Yeah, people that have fear are usually more risk adverse.
They're more. That's a good way of putting it. All right, let's go to a break. Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demers, Sunseri, all things legal. We'll be right back after this brief time out.
Join Newell Norman live from G&O Inc.'s annual luncheon at the Hyatt Regency New Orleans Friday. We'll celebrate the success of the...
You can tell that I'm a ball of anxiety when every time I click a button, my heart skips a beat a little bit.
1,200
Yeah, like, I cannot wait until this is over.
success of...
That was a good call, though. I'm glad that we had someone call in. He called in, and it wasn't until halfway through the conversation he was like, I did want to say I wanted to speak specifically to the boss lady, though.
Hey, green.
I was like, if you say that to Doug on the air, he'll lose it.
Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome.
That's it.
You're spitting.
He was like, it's such a good commercial. And I was like, yeah, it is a good commercial. I love it.
Go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm
the only crap
dissolver you need. I'm bleach free.
We got a we got a doozy of a text, Doug.
I never met a clog.
The most recent one about my father passed away.
Let the gobbler get it.
Do you see it?
Everything costs more.
See that one or?
Gas, groceries. When was the last time you checked your
I can hop in.
When it comes to big wireless, if you're overpaying, here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our U.S.-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
Who's cutting down the nets this year? Get in on all the tournament action at ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Go from tracking the latest upsets to placing bets in just a few taps.
So then we talked about, is the Tennessee game is that series at the box or is that in Tennessee?
Download the ESPN.
Okay, so is that the one you're going to go to?
With promo code Radio100 to get started today. Must be 21 and over. Gambling.
They have Texas next week, I believe.
700 in partnership.
I will say, though, I want to say in 2 weeks, not next week, but in 2 weeks, who did Mississippi State, you said 2 weeks? And then I think it's like Oklahoma or something like that after. Those two series are a Thursday, Friday, Saturday instead of Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I don't, because I was going to say like that could be better for you.
Crime and false alarms. Trust your safety with a name you know, APS. And now ProVisual by APS. Learn more at securitybyAPS.com or call 504-455-5277.
This is Neil. Just wonder if I should come see my...
All right, so let's see. Oklahoma series is the first weekend of April. That's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then Auburn is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then Alabama's Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
1500 block of Chippewa.
What, Easter's the 20th?
There'll be food trucks, refreshments, music by
gotcha, okay.
items for sale, and dancing in the street. So wear some green this Monday. 1500 block of Chippewa.
That's a very late Easter, you're right.
Do you have both Medicare and Medicaid? With the People's Health Medicare Advantage Plan, you could get up to $280 per month to spend on utilities, healthy groceries, and over-the-counter items.
Or from Tennessee, who else do we need to worry about in the SEC? I know it's the SEC, you're going to say kind of everybody, but...
855-821-2666.
Plans. Who do we... I mean, Texas say... Yeah, but they were one, and then they just plummeted. They kind of imploded.
State Medicaid program. Enrollment in...
We don't play them, I believe. I could be wrong.
Hey, everybody. Chris Coonihan for Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection company with over 1 million satisfied homeowners. I'm here to answer.
Just saying, I'm just wondering if we've got an easier SEC...
South Carolina.
Hey, Chris, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
About with my husband. Okay, so is it better to deal with a clogged gutter now or wait until the weat's better?
Mary, the time is now. The longer you wait, the more damage you can have. Your husband may have...
What a fantastic... I mean, that's the SEC, though. That's the SEC. That's the point.
Over the lifetime of your home.
But how much will it cost to get our gutters inspected?
Well, husband of Mary, leaf filter inspection and estimates are always free for new customers. And right now, if you go to leaffilter.com/gutter, you can get an additional 30% off.
I think I won here.
We both did. What's that site, Chris?
That's leaffilter.com/gutter. Visit today to schedule your free gutter inspection.
See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Ever feel like there aren't enough hours in the day? If you get busy or miss your favorite show, don't worry. With Rewind, available.
All right, we're back in about 20 seconds, by the way. So again, I'm just gonna, yeah, I'll just toss it straight to you.
You know your day is better with us. Get the news that matters to you from the local voices you trust. No matter what you're up to, give it a try. To get started, download the free Odyssey app.
Coming to you in 5, 4, 3.
ACY.
Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demers, Sunseri, all things legal. Let's Colin, we got a few texts.
We do. Someone texted in saying, would Mickey Loomis be on the hot seat if the Saints do not make the playoffs?
No. He will not be in the hot seat for at least 3 years. That's easy. Next one.
to the point. Someone texted in saying, my father passed away, and then his second wife passed away, parentheses, Arkansas, so I guess that's where she passed, or maybe where she was from. They left a will naming her daughter a trust, but once she dies, it goes to my brother and I. How do I get the information to my son, who will be my only heir after my brother and I pass away? There are no other heirs in my stepsister's life. Is there any way I can simply make my will naming that trust as future inheritance? What do I do?
Well, I think what they're asking is if someone's entitled to a trust, you can make sure, but the trust hasn't been at the time of drafting the will. The trust is not in existence, but it will be in existence upon an event such as death. The way you can deal with that is you can have a residuary clause saying if there's any other assets in my estate that I own, then it should go to whatever designated heir you would want to have. So basically, it's a residual clause. You see, you're so good about that.
No, I can just enunciate.
They taught you that in Dominican very well.
Del Sal didn't teach you how to enunciate?
They taught us a lot.
But not enunciation.
No, they did. Yeah. Oh, Mr. Stabler did. Oh, yes. But I wasn't always compliant.
Oh.
You see, my deal was I went to Del Sal, which was a phenomenal education. But I also watched Buddy Diliberto every night on the news, and then I would turn the channel and watch Hap Laude, and then I would turn the channel and watch maybe Vince Marinello. So I had those two things. It's like the angel and the devil on my shoulder, you know.
But you lived in the house with your parents, and both of your parents can enunciate.
They did.
Your parents.
So I do have a little bit of Buddy Diliberto disease. I admit that. So I just watched him a lot. I used to say, Wabi with the Cleveland Browns, or the best one. He'd say, Wabi from Riverwich, calling about the Cleveland Browns and Dante Stolpepper. So I've taken that on. So I have to look to you to enunciate properly. But you went to the
qualities I like about you, but
that's not one of them. And I'm doing radio too. That's more the other ironic aspect of it.
Ironic.
What else? Ironic about it. I unpronounce words sometimes.
You have many other good.
But you come from the same high school as the Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett. I'm now based on some of her rulings, I'm putting you back at number one.
You're not happy with some of her
Yeah,
Take us a break, Doug.
That's just my personal thing. All right, let's go to a break. Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demers, Sunseri, all things legal. We'll be right back after this brief time.
Listen to WWL and your favorite shows anytime, anywhere on the free Odyssey app. Presented by
I want to make sure you guys had enough time here.
Crescent City Classic. Register at C.
Fingers crossed, buddy. Fingers crossed. Where everything is perfect. No, nothing. We're fine next week.
Is proudly sponsored by Dudley DeBosier Injury Lawyers. Call 444-4444.
Non-attorney spokesperson. Let me do the math real quick.
Bobby Aber, KJ Cannon here. This week, FanDuel is bringing you a Dog of the Day Profit Boost token. One of the best parts about the tournament is when an underdog takes down a powerhouse. And right now, those upsets get...
It might be a little tight.
Dog bet wins. You'll
might be a little tight.
Winnings with a profit boost.
It might be a little tight. Let me. If I need to move something, I guess I could, but
refuse to go quietly. If you've been waiting to join FanDuel, there's no better time. The app is so easy to use.
we're flying by. What's the phrase? We're like flying by our bootstraps or something like that.
Bear, that's
Doing that. We're doing that. By the seat of our pants.
Book today and back your dog of the day
That's
with a
what it
profit
is.
boost. Because after all, anything can happen in March.
21 plus and present in Louisiana. Permitted parishes only. Opt-in required. Wager of at least plus 100 odds required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at Sportsbook.
I had to move about a minute because if not, I think you would have had like 15 to 10 seconds.
6-7.
So you should have about another. You should have about 15 to a minute now.
Beautiful's annual Love the Boot Week, the state's largest
And I
cleanup.
I mean this is it. Like we're closing the show and everything. I moved it. It'll be. It's not gonna be the end of the world. It'll affect the automation a little bit, but I'll be here for it because I gotta hold automation's hand anyway.
Sign up to volunteer.
Gotta make sure that nothing dies on me.
.org. Brought to you by the Office of the Lieutenant Governor. And
Later, like that. After the LSU game is done later today, Coleman's coming in to also make sure it doesn't die on him.
Case is really where. Yeah.
We really, I hate to say it, but we kind of have to like baby the thing a little bit.
Call 475-2323. LA 1670.
It's not learn how to work it. It's like we kind of have to hold its hand. So all right, since I moved about a minute, we'll have. And I'm glad I moved a minute because we would have had about 30 seconds, but because I can't play the legal ID out of the hotkeys, I need to do it through the stack. So I'm glad we'll have about 2 minutes almost, a little less than 2 full minutes.
That's not a short-term promo. Our U.S.-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call
I think that we won't have. I mean, we might have some Saints news, but we'll probably just have LSU baseball to talk about next week, and then March Madness. We could talk about your brackets if they're busted, which they. I know he'll be very excited to dive into that.
IRS, whether it's 5,000 or 5,000.
And you can tell me how the players went.
TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on
I mean, we're going to eat it sooner or later. I would rather do it now.
By visiting TRA.com
Do it now
or call
when you're not gonna
800-488-1329.
Yeah.
That's 800-488-1329.
Coming back.
Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demers Sunseri. If anybody wants to contact you in God's country on the North Shore, how can they do that?
985-624-9697.
You're at the foot of the causeway, right on the North Shore, and we're on the foot of the causeway, or not at the foot, maybe we're at the ankle of the causeway on the South Shore, in the heart of downtown Metairie, right behind the Caddy Shack, man. That's us. So Michelle, thank you for waking up. Thank you for so much nicer to wake up to you each morning as opposed to Albert.
Well, you don't wake up with Albert.
I know, but I have to look at him through the monitor there on Sunday morning. So it's so much nicer there.
Thank you for having me.
Albert be next week. As you know, if you're at the St. Patrick's Day Parade on Metairie Road, you're welcome to go to Albert's house, drink all his booze, use the bathroom, and eat all the food. If you're a listener of WWL, and you can bring friends and family or anybody who, heck, you just listen to the radio, watch TV, whatever, you qualified to go. All right, so we'll see you next week. Y'all have a wonderful day at the St. Patrick's Day Parade, Crew of Argus, and all activities on Sunday. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week. And I'll end it with Go Tigers.
All right, we made it through.
All right, Colin.
We made it through.